It's a blessing and a curse, but
Yeah.
I don't rarely see the roadblocks. I see an opportunity. And another thing that I find is really, really important and has been really important is surrounding yourself with really good people.
Yeah.
People that are competent, people that believe in the same cause you believe in. So I just start talking to everybody. I'm talking to my friends, I'm talking to people at the grocery store. At the time I was in Boy Scouts, and so I'm at the roundtable meetings and I'm talking to everybody at the roundtable meetings, like anybody interested, anybody. And before you know it, you have a group of 75 to 100 people that
just
are like,
rallying with you.
we
right?
want another option for our kids too.
Welcome back to Attorneys on Accident, the podcast with Joe Worth and Ash Blackburn. Our guest today is Rachelle Hulet. She is the CEO of Amplus Academy here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Rachelle is a Wonder Woman. She is somebody that, with no formal education, decided that she was going to start a charter school. And she took what she saw in New York and the educational system there and the way that they were doing it and thought this is what Las Vegas needs. And she started her very own charter school called Amplus Academy. And so we're going to learn from her. And you're going to see somebody who never saw obstacles but opportunities, and it's only in looking back where she kind of had to laugh and realize that's kind of a big deal, and I don't know if I could do it again, but she got through it, and we're grateful for her. Welcome to Attorneys on Accident. We are here with Ash Blackburn and our guest, Rachelle Hulet. She is the CEO of Amplus Academy.
Yes.
Mother of 5 awesome kids that I'm lucky enough to know most of. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into all things education, growth, personal development. But let's just start with you. I mean, it's an open-ended question. It's tough to just be.
Well,
hey,
first,
tell us
here's
about
my
you.
question. What's a CEO of a school? That's not something I've heard.
Well, CEO, Chief Executive Officer, obviously, is the word for the acronym. But in a lot of charter school networks where you aren't going to have a superintendent, then you'll likely have a CEO.
Okay. And as a CEO of a charter school, what do you do?
I am in charge of all things, including academics, but not specifically academics. Academics is typically reserved for the principal of the school, but I oversee the operations, the finances, human resources, all of technology, development, expansion, compliance.
How many employees?
All the fun stuff. About 220.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Tell us about Amplus. What kind of school?
We've grown. So we are a state public charter school. We have a charter contract with Nevada Department of Education to be a public school. So we have to follow all of the same regulations, statutes, testing, everything that all public schools have to follow.
Basic definition: private, charter, public.
Private school, you pay to go to the school. A charter school is a public school, but it's not defined by where you live. So anybody can opt into a charter school, and those seats are given out randomly by a lottery, but the students do not pay to attend a charter school. It's a free public education. The difference is that we are not beholden to the local school districts that define our curriculum or our school improvement plan, our hiring practices, collective bargaining, all of those things. As a public charter school, we have our own autonomy to kind of be a little fish.
Is that the main benefit? Is
Yeah.
just the autonomy?
The autonomy.
How's it funded?
Funded by the state. So
Okay.
depending on however many students we have enrolled, we get paid per pupil based on the number of students.
And
Okay.
obviously you went into this for the money.
Never for the money, ever. I went into it for the headache. I went into it because of my children and because I love people and I love to be able to help people. And so that's kind of how I got into it. I'm not an educator. I didn't go to school for education, although probably my role model in high school was my math teacher. I loved math. And when I went to college, I wanted to do secondary education. And my very first class that I took, I went to lab, and the lab teacher, who was a TA, didn't hardly speak any English. And so after my first lab, I dropped out of my math class and decided to not go into secondary education because I couldn't get past the first math class because I was like, oh, this is scary, this is hard. Because academics came really easy to me when I was in high school, and I was like, oh, this is hard, I'm gonna back out. I'm having way too much as a freshman at college, so I'll circle back around to that later. So, but yeah, the CEO, not over academics, so in charge of making sure that I hire the appropriate people to do the job of the academic program that we have, but I leave it to the principal, or now we actually have a position called the Chief Academic Officer, and she is in charge of our 3 principals.
I love this though. You're
the
in
school.
school, you take a turn. Where do you go from there? It wasn't straight to CEO of a charter school, I imagine.
No, it wasn't. I went to school for a couple years and then got married young. So
How old?
I was 20 when I got married.
Oh.
So I stopped going to college so I could work to put my husband through college. And then we started our family and we ended up in Vegas. And we hustled for quite a few years, ended up having 3 kids here in Vegas. And then my husband, after having gone through undergrad here at UNLV and working valet for 5 years, really grinding it out. At the time I was actually working at a doctor's office. So I was working at a doctor's office doing medical billing and working the front office. And he was doing valet and going to school. And we were just having children. We had 3 at the time.
In the thick of it.
In the thick of life, right?
Yeah.
But that's all you know.
Yeah.
So you just do it.
That's a good way to accelerate learning and growth, right?
You know,
Pour
and
some gasoline.
like into the fire, baptism by fire, really. And at the end of his undergrad, when he graduated from UNLV, he decided he wanted to go to law school. So he applied to several law schools, and the one that he really looked into was University at Buffalo, because my parents still lived in upstate New York, and that would have been an opportunity for us to save on some of our expenses. Right? We wouldn't have to rent a place. We could live with my parents while he went to law school.
Plus the weather.
And who wouldn't want to go back to Lake Ontario snow, right? And 4 months of clouds. So we decided to move back, and he went to University at Buffalo. He commuted 4 days a week. He would go and stay in Buffalo and stay at this microtel. It must have been about 200 square foot
Oh my gosh.
hotel
Oh,
room.
gross.
It was. And then I would stay home with the kids. But it was really, really cool. I stayed home I was with my parents. I didn't work. I was just a full-time mom at that point, which was the first time I had really stayed home. But I still don't ever just stay home, right?
That's
I
an
was always-
education in education too, right?
Yes, and I was
Raising your kids.
raising your kids. That's
Absolutely.
the biggest education. I would help out at the preschool as my kids were going to preschool, and I would help out at the elementary school because that's where my kids started school. So they started school at my elementary
Oh,
school.
wow.
Wow.
They had some of the same teachers I had.
No way.
And some of their other teachers were kids I graduated with. So it was like going back home, you know? And New York education is pretty good, pretty top notch. The taxes pay for it. I mean, it's
Okay.
like 5 levels deep of taxes you're paying. But the school systems are really, really great.
Like, how is it different? I mean, we know that Nevada struggles. What do you think the practical differences are between a New York education and a Nevada
Well, they have a lot
education?
more money. And so because of the more money, they're able to pay their teachers. They're also able to pay for whatever programs. They just have a higher standard. So in New York, the educational standard was Regents at the time. It was called the Regents. You would get a Regents diploma or a standard diploma. And it was just, it would be like taking all honors classes or all AP
AP.
classes, right?
Right.
And everyone is just expected to get that type of diploma. And the state colleges there are really, really good as well. And so my kids started school there, and it was great, and we were happy. And I wasn't really disappointed when he didn't get a job offer in New York. He got a job offer back in
Trying
Vegas.
to get away from the weather?
Because we loved Vegas.
Yeah.
And the weather was really hard going back there as an adult, but it was great for my kids. We were on 11 acres. They got to sled,
Oh,
play
really?
outdoors in the woods.
Hard to find that in Vegas.
You don't find it anywhere. It doesn't even exist.
Well, it's
You
a
have to
different
go to Mount
childhood,
Charleston.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Every summer I'm staying by the air conditioned.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But also in the school that I grew up in, it was the community. Like everybody knew everybody. It really was a community. The community used each other for businesses and other things. I graduated with 75 kids in my graduating class.
Oh, man.
And of those 75 kids, I probably started kindergarten with 70 of them. So we all knew each other very, very well. It's a very tight-knit community. I got to be involved in anything I wanted. Sports, drama, National Honor Society, the French Club, like anything you want to do, you just do it because it's a small school. And I liked it that it helped me build leadership skills as well as, which some of that is a little bit innate, but
Right.
because it exposes you to all of these different things, it just gives you a leg up, I think, in life, right?
Absolutely,
As you're
yeah.
exposed to more things. So we moved back to Vegas, and my kids went to Vegas schools. And it took only about 3 months before I saw my 3rd grader, my oldest son. He was not performing in math and in reading, like literally started failing. And you don't just become not smart.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was clearly indicative of his environment, right?
Yeah.
And the sweet third grade teacher just loved to put on plays and performances. She wasn't really about math skills and reading skills, which is why his grades started to tank. And I just started thinking, oh, there's got to be something better. Like, how can I get something in New York, like New York? And in Vegas, I don't know, how you guys feel about the communities here. Some of the communities are really nice, but the schools aren't really communities.
Yeah,
Right.
agreed.
Because it's not like it's a town. Like you go to other states and cities, and this town is a school. And
Right.
And it kind of centers around the
It's
school,
built
right?
around
yes,
it.
school. Everybody goes to the games.
Well,
and
I
everybody's
imagine-
part of
yeah,
it
and I
in one
imagine
way or
some of
another.
the problem was that Vegas just is always outgrowing its
Transient.
infrastructure.
The
too. But
transiency.
it grows so fast. There's a lot of, it's all catch up. And it's like, who are we? What is our identity when it comes to education? And it's transient. So
And
everyone's-
we're a 24-hour town.
Right.
So your neighbors might work swing or grave, and you
Yeah.
never see them.
Yeah.
So it just creates a different culture, which there's something beautiful about the Las Vegas
diversity.
culture that I absolutely love.
But it hasn't bred the best educational.
No.
Environment.
And it grew really fast. Because Vegas grew fast, you have one large school district
Right.
being managed by,
Which is unusual, right? Like
it's very, very large.
Is it unusual?
for the nation, isn't it unusual to have that big of a school district rather than it
There
broken
are
up?
others that are big. I think we're the 5th largest district in the
Okay.
country. But when it's that big, it's just a big machine that
Yeah.
it also takes a lot of money to run a big machine, and that money doesn't necessarily flow directly then to the schools, to the teachers, to the students individually,
Just a weight.
because that you have to sustain the system, right? Which
Right.
it takes a lot of money to do
I
that.
mean, we just talk about that in our office, right? Like that we're afraid to get too big because you'll lose the culture.
Yes.
You'll lose the one-on-one. You'll
Right.
lose the ability to make change and be nimble.
Quickly, be nimble.
Yes.
And that is the autonomy that charter schools have. You want to make a change, you make a change the next day, it is different.
Right.
When you're in a system or a district, you have to go through all these processes to get approval, and then it has to come all
A
the way
teacher
back
can come
down.
straight to you, and if it's something that you can immediately rectify, you just
We do.
it.
Right? We say we need another room for our speech
Like a
teacher.
small business.
Then we say, okay, let's go in.
Buy
We're
it,
going to
fix
take the
it.
room. We're going to fix it. And we're going to make that a speech room. Tomorrow we have a speech room.
Wow, okay.
That doesn't happen like that when you're in a larger district. It's a little bit more
Yeah,
difficult.
so status quo just gets deeper and deeper
Yeah.
as far as being entrenched. Okay.
So how do you bring New York to Vegas?
So I really was looking for the community, right? The community aspect was a big part, and the individualized part for my kids to have this exposure to everything. What I loved about Vegas was the diversity.
Yes.
That they walked into
Yeah,
the school
amen.
and they
I
saw
love that.
people from everywhere. They would come home and say, tell me the different colors of browns. And I just thought that I
Do you
was
know
not
where we
exposed to
rank
that at
on
all.
that? Like, I mean, is that, we always talk about the bad rankings, but like, I think my son, who's at West Tech, he's a senior, he said something off the cuff where it was like, he has one of the most diverse schools in the nation, or Vegas is one of the
Vegas
most
has
diverse.
to be, yeah.
I mean, all of his friends, just every different place in the world, and lots of people from Africa. It's interesting. I mean, and I love it for him.
And a lot of first generation.
Yeah.
I mean, actual immigrants that are moving here
Right.
and landing in Vegas, which it can be a challenge at times, but it also offers a lot of really cool things for our city.
When you said that you weren't exposed to it as a kid, what is the benefit that you see there of your children being exposed to
Well, I
different
wasn't
kinds of
exposed to
people?
anything, so all I knew was like upstate New York, small town, coming from farming stock. Most people were farmers, right, way back in the day, and then it kind of branched out, and they're just small businessmen, or
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it wasn't like a city by any means. And so I appreciated understanding other people, seeing where they come from. As just a personal thing for me, I like to be able to relate to other people, but see that they came from a completely different place,
Yeah.
a completely different upbringing, but yet we have experienced very similar things in life, and
Yeah.
a different way that you can connect with people,
Yeah.
even though you don't have a lot in common.
Yeah. Well, and there's this knowledge and understanding that the world is so much bigger than the
Yes.
hometown that you were grown up in, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was nice to be able to see that.
Yeah.
So I definitely found my home in Vegas. I absolutely love Las Vegas. I'm a huge advocate of this city. And so I wanted to bring something special to Vegas, or just be able to see it. I started volunteering in the school. I helped out as much as I possibly could, I was there as much as I could be. And then there was kind of a small twist where my son, who was in 3rd grade at the time, he was 8, came down with an autoimmune disease. And so he was homebound. So the school district paid for a tutor to come to the house 2 to 3 days a week to teach him because he couldn't be at school. And within 3 weeks, like you could see the difference
Yeah.
of
3
good
weeks?
teaching.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
That's all it took.
And his confidence, like, completely changed him as a student. He's 8 years old.
Which son is it?
Max.
Max?
Yeah. He had a platelet disorder, so his body would not make platelets. It kept attacking his own platelets. So if he were to fall and hit his head, he could bleed out. So he
That's
couldn't.
another thing I feel like that gets lost in such a big school district is the fact that every kid's dealing with different things, whether it's their home life environment,
family.
any kind of
Yes.
health issue that they might have, mental health. I mean, there's so many different things, and everything's standardized, and everything needs to look a certain way. So kids get lost in the
Somewhat,
shuffle.
but at the same time, because the school district is such a big machine, they do have the money to be able to support some of
Good.
these kids, right? So when we talk about there being homebound services, they paid for a teacher to come to the house 2
That's
to 3 times a
awesome.
week. This sweet little Filipino lady that was a teacher and an angel,
Kindest people in the world.
and changed his trajectory, changed his confidence in a matter of weeks, where he saw, okay, it's not me that's the problem, right? Like, I can do this. I am smarter than this. I didn't want to send him back to school because I was so nervous, and he hadn't been healed totally yet of his platelet disorder. So I actually went to the extreme, which I can't believe I did, and I homeschooled him
oh, wow.
and my other son.
Back then, this was what year?
That's
It was
unusual.
fourth grade
Yeah,
and
now that it's
third
coming
grade.
more often.
Now it's more on trend, but
Now-
back then it
oh,
was still
that was
your kid's
not
gonna
on
be a
trend.
social
It would have been
weirdo.
2006. No,
You
it was
were-
2008 is when I did it,
Yeah.
because mid-year that year is when I had my 4th child, in January of the year I was homeschooling.
Yeah, you were early adopter.
That was crazy. I mean, it's crazy enough to homeschool your kids, and I do not have. I could not be a teacher. I do not have the temperament. I do not have the patience for it. I love kids, but in a different way, you know.
Yeah.
So I was homeschooling my 2 kids. Had a baby that year, and my littlest was 5 and in kindergarten.
What does that mean for people? Because I feel like most people don't understand what it means to homeschool a kid, right? Like, what is the actual process
Well,
of
I didn't
homeschooling?
know what to do. So I reached out to some of my family members, like, I want to homeschool my kid. What should I do? And they said, well, there are some online charter schools
Right.
that are homeschooling programs. And so I started researching on the internet, and I found one that seemed like, okay, this is doable. So all the curriculum, they even sent us computers, right?
Oh, wow, okay.
All the curriculum came from this program, and I would just sit with them, and as they would go through the material and go through the lessons, make sure they understand it, and then they would take the test at the end, and that's how we got through that school year. There's no way that was going to last. I am not going to homeschool these kids longer. So in the midst of all of that, I reached out. I was able to reach out to somebody that I knew in Utah that had started charter schools, and said, I would like to be able to bring something to Vegas because I have family here, I have siblings here, nieces and nephews. It would benefit all my family. So what can we do? And they said, well, I mean, it's state by state, so you need to reach out to your state, see what goes into opening a charter school. So I did. I just looked it up, started calling people.
So that's fine. That's great. You're like, well, I did, but I want to kind of unpack
Yeah.
that. Well, I did. Is that just how you've always been, or were you gaining confidence now, having done the homeschooling?
I was
like,
desperate.
Okay, back was against the wall.
Back was against the wall. I was desperate. I started looking at other charter schools, and the wait lists for the other charter schools were really long. There's no chance I was going to get them in a charter school. And there was nothing where we lived in the Southwest area. This was before a lot of
Yeah.
the charter schools started popping up,
Yeah.
because this is back in 2009.
Yeah.
Before Darrell.
Before
Yep.
much of anything was
Before
in
a lot of those
Southwest.
schools opened up. And so, and this was 2009 when Josephine was born.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I guess we could just look and see if we could open up another one. You know, since there isn't one out here, let's open up one over here. So I am.
That's pretty rare, though, right? Like, I'm just going to solve this problem for myself.
I definitely
So, what gave
don't
you this
think
gumption?
I'm cut from the same cloth as most people.
Yeah.
I think when I have an idea in my head, like, I'm going to go after it.
You'll take
right?
action.
I'm going to take action. When my friend calls me and says, hey, I think we should run a marathon, I'm like, okay, let's run a marathon.
they're like,
I don't know
oh,
what the
okay,
training
you too.
schedule looks like. Like, let's do it. Let's run a marathon,
Oh,
right?
no, yeah, I suffer from some of the
Until
same.
you're halfway through the marathon, and then you're like, what was I thinking?
Right
This
now,
is
I'm
the
doing that.
stupidest
With the
thing
training,
ever.
I'm like, what are we doing?
What are we doing? So I just don't even think of that. I don't, it's a blessing and a curse, but
Yeah.
I don't rarely see the roadblocks. I see an opportunity.
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
And another thing that I find is really, really important and has been really important is surrounding yourself with really good people.
Yeah.
People that are competent, people that believe in the same cause you believe in. So I just start talking to everybody. I'm talking to my friends. I'm talking to people at the grocery store. At the time, I was in Boy Scouts. And so I'm at the round table meetings, and I'm talking to everybody at the round table meetings, like, anybody interested, anybody? And before you know it, you have a group of 75 to 100 people
Yeah,
that
just
are like,
rallying with you.
we
right?
want
Yeah.
another option for our kids too. We're on your team. What do we do? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll get back to you on that. So just kind of start plugging away. And the contact that I had in Utah, they had already done it in Utah, and it's similar state to state. But then there's some things that are specific, based on the state that you're in, and
Right.
the application you have to fill out, and some of the statutes you have to follow. So
Was it difficult? Was it a headache getting through the red tape of starting a school, or do you find that it was easier than most people think it would be?
it is bureaucratic. And it is just that, it is red tape. It just takes time and patience, but it is not rocket science. That being said, anybody who studied rocket science could be a rocket scientist if they wanted to put that much time into it, right? What it taught me is that there isn't anything anybody can't do.
Have you ever heard of the book written by a woman, Everything is Figure-Outable?
No, but that is it. Everything is
Her mom
figure-outable.
taught her at a young age that everything's figure-outable. And
Yes.
so instead of it being the,
Limitations.
or the lazy parenting where they, why? And it's just like, like they'd be like, well, let's figure it out. And then she would be like this amazing mom and like, let's go figure it out together. And
Right.
lo and behold,
How
she
does the
becomes
clock
this
work? Yeah.
amazingly powerful, successful woman.
And I've always been solution minded. Like I
Yeah.
always love to see a problem and like find the solution for it.
A
and
puzzle.
Make,
I
a
call it
puzzle,
puzzle.
like
I'm
make
a
it
puzzle.
work
Yeah.
and make it better, make it more efficient, right? Change the furniture in your room so that it's a better feng
More
shui,
feng shui, yeah.
or it's better to like walk through the space and reorganize the cabinets so that it's easier to access the pots and pans and the lids. Like I'm always trying to find a better
Very
way for
systems
things.
oriented.
Definitely
right?
very systems oriented.
Yeah.
That definitely is my brain. So for me, it was just about getting a list of things you had to do and then getting through the checklist.
Yep.
And making sure that you have all your bases covered and that everything's done. It's totally doable.
Yeah.
Is it bureaucratic? Yes. What I wish I had learned earlier was the political game. Because I play the game on my side with my friends and the people that I know, right? My acquaintances. But to have really understood, it took me a few more years to get to the place where you understand the political side on the other way. That is just as important as the people that you keep in your close circle, right?
It's another thing that I don't think people understand about education, right, is how political it is. There was a moment in time where I told my whole family, I'm not going to be a lawyer. Actually, I want to be an English professor. And it was in 2008, so it's during the recession. And I was fortunate at that time to have friends who had parents that were educators. One that specifically had a college professor, and he's like, you don't want to do this. Because you go into it with all of these great ideals about teaching
Yep.
and creativity, and this is how I'm going to change the world. And then you get it and you're absolutely bootstrapped, right?
Yes, they squash all of those dreams.
Yeah. So can you speak more to that, like how the education system is political and what you have to navigate around?
Well, I mean, it's fairly complex because there's many different layers, right? You have the national layer of standards that are coming down from Washington.
And if you don't follow that, you don't get funding.
Right.
Right.
And then it trickles down to the state, and then at the state level, who your governor is.
Same thing.
And who your legislators are, and are they Democratic or are they Republican? And then it comes down to your local district. So like here at CCSD, if your students are going to the district schools, then it's what does that school board look like? Also, what does the Nevada Department of Education school board look like, and who's on that board? The state superintendent, who is appointed by the governor. So it's definitely all about the team that you're on, and depending on the team that is owning the state at that time, that will kind of dictate what starts to come down to the schools. The new statutes that are passed or whatever new regulations that they're going to put out. And so, and it's also ever changing, and our system runs every 2 years. And so
Yeah.
if something is great, that's great. If something is horrible, you got to wait 2 years.
That's the hard thing
Wait
about
2 years to fix it.
Well, and that's the hard thing about politics too, just generally speaking, but I can imagine it's so much worse in education, is that like it takes time to make any change happen.
And
So,
data, a lot of data to
right?
be able to back up that change.
So you do it for 2 years, somebody else gets in office, and now
Yes.
we're
It's a different
undoing
idea.
everything that we've done. We're trying something else. Another 2 years goes
takes
by as we
forever.
swing back, and nothing ever changes because
Yeah.
all we're doing is swinging left and right and left and right.
And at the end of the day, the kids who are, the people who are left hanging out to dry are the kids at school.
Yeah.
Right? They're the ones that aren't really benefiting
That
from
suffer.
it. So when you talk about the bureaucratic side and the political side of it, it can be, not to say that there aren't really good political leaders. We've had a lot of really great leaders
Yeah.
that have come through and have made really significant changes. And even from the time that we were granted our charter back in 2013, there are so many more charter schools that have opened since then.
Yes.
So that just opens the door for a lot more families to have choice and to have other opportunities
Yeah.
for their kids, because as a parent, you want it to feel good for your kid. And just because you live right here,
Right.
it's nice that they have the option.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, there's a whole slew of people that don't like that there's charter schools. They, because they feel like the money is being taken away from our school to give to their school, when in actuality, it's the
That's
money
interesting.
follows the children.
Right.
And the way that it should be.
Right.
If the student moves from this school to this school, well, then the money follows the student from that
Okay.
school to that
That's
school.
good to
which
know.
is really,
Yeah.
really good.
Absolutely.
So to kind of close out like the story, it was a lot of work, and I worked for free for many, many years to just try and get things up and rolling. We were approved in 2013, but we didn't have a location. And so we were finally able to open our doors in 2014 in a small little place with only 400 kids.
Oh, wow.
We were slated to open with 1,100, but the facility wasn't going to be finished.
And how do you
built.
staff a new school?
You just put listings out and start interviewing
Really?
and hiring and
Hoping
all of
and
that.
praying.
So, and that kind of leads to the next part, which a lot of charter schools have to partner with some type of outside organization, a back office service provider or an EMO or a CMO, an educational management organization. It typically is who they will partner with, because there aren't a lot of startup funds for charter schools. There is no money. So how do you hire a teacher and say, I'm going to start paying you, when school doesn't start until August 15th and your first check doesn't come until September 15th?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there has to be a buffer there, right, to help cover the costs of some of those things. So a lot of schools, charter schools, will partner with a back office service provider or an EMO. And so the board partnered with this EMO out of state, out of Utah, for several years. So that kind of launched us.
And what do? They set up the infrastructure?
Kind of the infrastructure. They would help go maybe find the land or find the
Okay.
buildings, the rentals if you needed to rent a space. I was intimately involved in all of that because I lived here, so it was easy for me to go around and to find the things. And I would round up all the volunteers that would show up to help if we were going to paint or we were going to try and get furniture and things like that. So we had a really amazing group of volunteers because these are parents that care, that want something for their kids.
Wow. This is just a parent-built
They
school.
just
Yeah.
need somebody posting the flag saying, let's follow this person leading the charge to get this thing done for our kids. And so that was me.
That's so
I was
cool.
the one posting the flag because I was passionate about having something else for my kids. And I did not want to homeschool. That was a really long
Couldn't do that
year.
anymore.
I could not do that anymore.
So to get the fancy title, CEO,
So
you just had to start the whole school.
So
No big deal.
I kind of started. Actually started as what was called the administrative director there. I was completely separate from any part of the academics. So I just helped run all the administrative side, everything except the academic side of it. And that was great. And the next year we grew and our building was
Was that
done
always
and-
the intention that you would be
No.
running the school when you started it?
No, I
Okay.
just started it because I'm like, this seems like a great idea. Let's do it. Go, go, go. And I'm a hustler and always had lots of side jobs as I was a young mom. And then it was only a few months before the school opened that the opportunity was presented to me. Hey, I think it would make sense that you help run the school because you've done all the work, you have the relationships with the state, you have the relationships with all the new staff, you know all of our parents and the
yeah.
volunteers, you've done all the enrollment. I mean, there's almost a job at the school I haven't done
Yeah.
because it started so small. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to start working now. And the big curveball came when I found out I was pregnant with my 5th child 2 weeks before school opened.
Woo!
So that one was not quite so planned, and I was ready to be home free because my baby was going into kindergarten, but that clock started over again, and I had to figure out a new way.
Mm-hmm.
And this actually lended the opportunity for me to be a mom. I was pregnant through my whole first year, brought my baby to school with me the whole second year.
Oh, that's amazing.
I was out there with the little, what do they call the little baby
Bjorn?
ergos, Bjorns, right? I'm at carpool, and I had my baby on me. I'm doing everything.
Slinging a baby around.
Slinging a baby around. Everybody knew him, and kind of juggling both worlds still
JoJo
right
was
then.
the unofficial mascot.
Yes. But it was hard.
Yeah.
Being a mom, full-time mom, and like doing this was rough. And the next year we expanded by 1,100 kids,
Oh, wow.
like 400 plus 1,100.
What's that growing pain like?
I didn't. You don't even realize it till you're past it, and you're like, "That was awful. Who had this idea?" But the building was ready, and in order to fund the building,
Okay.
to make the payment, you had to have the numbers. So we had to have the numbers, and we had the applications. We had the parents that were ready to enroll.
Did you guys have difficulty staffing, finding teachers?
Never.
Oh,
We never had a hard
good.
time staffing, and we never have had a hard time keeping our enrollment full.
What do you attribute that to?
Well,
Me.
probably.
Yeah.
Honestly, I am pretty passionate about the
Yeah.
work that I do, and I don't say this with arrogance,
Right.
really.
It's good permission. This is.
With permission, yeah, it's very personal to me. All of this was very personal because it was for the sake of my kids, and I was bringing my baby with me. Like every person we hired, I sat across the table from them, and this is my dream: is to have a school that offers this for our families. Do you want to be on board with this? And so they would and it was every person was on board. There wasn't a job anybody wouldn't do, anybody wouldn't step up and help with. It wasn't, oh, sorry, that's not my job.
Yeah.
No, I'm out there
Live
doing all the
outside of the
jobs.
box.
And Ash and I have had the privilege of meeting a lot of your teachers.
Yes,
They get
yes,
in a-
you have.
They get in a car accident. We advertise at the school, and so we become the unofficial, injury firm for your school.
Yes.
But it was interesting, and it's a huge compliment, right, to say that you could tell they all bought in. They'd all bought into the culture and the ideals of Amplus. And so I was like, okay.
Just
it's
an
good.
invested tribe. I mean, to your point, to build a
Family.
community, I mean,
Yeah.
Family,
Yeah.
like this really is the
Yes.
family.
Mhm.
You know,
They
this,
very
enjoyed it.
protective of each other.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very
and I
close-knit.
feel very protective of them. That's the other thing, is I feel like I now have this responsibility of not just 2,500 kids and their families, but 220 employees and their families.
Yeah.
It's kind of heavy, but at the same time, it's very, very rewarding when you have that many people. If everybody can be
Looking
on the
to
same
you.
page, to say, we want to be something better. We want to be bigger, we want to be better, we want to be kinder, we want to not be right, we want to get it right.
I
you know.
love that. Yeah. So you've been open for 10 plus years now, 11
This
years.
is our 12th year.
12th year.
Yeah.
12th year. Tell me about the ups and downs, right? Like what's the growth that you've experienced?
So
the
I look back now
challenges.
and I see that the growth kind of was a challenge when we added that many students at one time and as we grew that way. But at the same time, in the valley, there was a need. A lot of charter schools were popping up. Durrell was popping up, Somerset's, Pinecrest, Coral Academy was expanding, Discovery Charter School, I think was expanding. So there were a lot of charter schools starting to pop up, and there was a huge high demand for an alternate for parents, an alternate education
Yep.
for parents. And so we never had a problem filling our seats, and growing. We had always planned for like a smaller high school and a larger elementary school. And that dynamic has kind of shifted a little bit.
In what way?
Now we're top heavy the other way. We
Oh,
have way
okay.
more secondary students. So to counter that, we, in working with the management company, decided to open another elementary school. And we started that process, I think it was like in 2018, and got some land right down the road from our current campus, and we were going to expand and have another K through 5 or K through 6 down there. And then, of course, COVID hits in 2020. So everything slows down, and the building's not going to be ready, and we're doing online learning. And we are looking at our projected growth to now be 2,300 kids. And the board saw as the school was developing, as the school was growing, and we were kind of taking this trajectory naturally, and also just trying to provide for the community that we had, the board decided that they wanted to become an independent school. And that means that they no longer wanted to use a management company. They wanted to bring all services in-house. So before, when you would have a management company, they would help with all your hiring, they would help with all your finances, some of your operations, your compliance, your grant writing, things like that. The board's like, I think we're at a place that we can just do this ourselves.
Right.
And that happened the summer of COVID when they decided to make that change, which was very substantial.
Yeah.
That was a name change, rebranding, redoing all of our curriculum.
Wow.
Everything had to be shifted. And at that point, they were going to hire me to be the school leader. And I hadn't finished my degree.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So in order to be the actual school leader, because before we had a principal, and then I was the administrative director. So the principal was considered the school leader. So as they were going to make me the executive director, they could only name me interim director because I had to go back to school and get my degree.
5 kids running a school. We'll go back to school myself.
In the
No
middle
big
of
deal.
COVID, as we're
Jeez.
remaking a school and expanding by 600 students, we added 600 students the fall of COVID.
Yeah, it speaks to your blood, sweat, and
It
tears.
was
Like, you're going to do whatever needs to be done.
insane. Yes.
Self-inflicted.
So a little bit self-inflicted for sure. I'm a glutton for punishment, I think. So it took me about 13 months, and I was able to finish my degree and got my degree in business administration and maintained that title of executive director for about another year and a half, and then the board just did a job description analysis and review, and we hired some consultants and specialists and said, really, what is this job? If we have to replace Rochelle, how are we replacing
Right.
her? And they say, you're going to have to hire a CEO because that is the job that she's doing. So
There she is. Then she's born.
that just then became my title of CEO of Amplus Academy. So that was an interesting rebirth on many fronts. So there was the rebirth of the school, of course, a culture that we had deeply embedded with our parents, this parent culture of always in the school, tons of volunteering. They were all over our school all the time. And then COVID
Yeah.
shut everything off.
Speak to that because I have so many friends who from kids in elementary school to middle school to high school that talk about, people really don't understand how devastating COVID was to the school system, to the kids that were going to school at that time. Can you speak to it as somebody that was in it?
Twofold. One, humans forgot how to be human. Kids forgot how to be kids. They were stuck, isolated, a lot of times not even seeing people's faces, and very limited interaction. Nothing that would be even nonverbal interaction, right? It's just everything over a screen. Everybody's phobias exploded. Everybody's anxieties either were created or exploded. And there was no way to actually help those people because everybody was so isolated and separated. It also pulled all of the families out of the school. Now the parents who aren't teachers, I don't want to be sitting there with my kid doing their homework, which is why I stopped homeschooling, right?
Right.
And now you have every single family that's in this position. And some of them, they can't even do it. They both are working full time.
Right.
And so they couldn't even manage. So the emotional toll that it took, it will be seen for years to come
Yeah.
of how difficult it was to come back and having kids interact with each other, staff interact with each other. We basically had to rebuild
Like start over.
all of the culture that we had so
That's
deeply embedded
so
in our
hard.
school.
Takes so long.
It takes so long, and it took a long time for people to feel comfortable even coming back. And even after COVID was over and we're back real time, it has been a Herculean effort getting
Yeah.
parents to come back into the school to volunteer.
And how interesting it is to the length of time that it takes to build community and how quickly it can be lost.
So fast, so fast. We probably had a little bit of damage, not just from COVID, obviously that damaged everybody, but also from becoming independent, having a new name. People are like, who are you? And why are you changing things? What was wrong with the way we were before?
Assumptions being made.
Yes, I was like, no, nothing is wrong. We're trying to do it better. We're
Yeah.
trying to be
People
bigger
don't like
and better
change,
and
right?
kinder.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But change is very, very hard. And to
Yeah.
have that come at the time of COVID, when there was so much uncertainty, that definitely did not help. And so that was definitely a big girl moment that I had. It was like, you got to pull your boots up. You got to get to work. You got to have more conversations with these families, more conversations with your staff, and hope that starts to permeate, and it just takes longer.
How did you bring everybody back? If you could sum it up, like kind of what was the mission and how did you get a culture back?
Honestly, I feel like we're still bringing people back.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think that we are because
5 years later. Wow.
because our student population has changed so much as well. So we come back from COVID, we're in part-time, then we come back full-time, right? So now everybody's there. Now we're trying to hire teachers. And I don't want to say we ever had a huge struggle finding talent, but there was a time when we had a hard time. Then the state throws down all this money at the district schools, which creates a 25% discrepancy between our pay and the district.
Oh, geez.
How can I compete? I can't make money like off of trees, right?
Yeah.
So now we're competing with that and trying to get people to stay with us when they just want to go make more money, but people aren't happy, so they want to come and work for us. So it's a little bit of turnover, and anytime you have a significant change like that, you can expect that there's going to be 20 to 30% turnover in your staffing. I don't think we hit those numbers, but it definitely was a challenge. And so to get people on board, I just did what I felt like maybe I could do, right? Like we tried to create events that our staff want to be a part of. Sometimes it's forced family fun. We try to do a lot with our branding. We do a lot with our sponsors. Thank you to you guys who help out with our staff appreciation and doing fun things for them throughout the year.
It is fun. That was a party. I wasn't
so
ready
good.
to match that energy and
To
all these
make
teachers.
it, we
I was
do.
like,
We kind of bring it. So that it has a different element to it than what they could get anywhere else. That's what you just want it. I want it to be different for them. I want them to feel special, cared for. Each of them are individual, but they're all still part of this one big conglomeration of people that are ultimately here for the same reason, which is the community of kids. So where I was going before was the amount of students we have now in high school. So back in the day, pre-COVID, we had about 1,000 kids in elementary and 350 kids in secondary. We now have at our Durango campus 450 kids in elementary and 1,200 kids in
Oh,
secondary.
wow. Okay, so it flipped.
And then we have our Rainbow campus that has 650 elementary kids. So our kids have stayed with us. Where our first graduating class in 18 was 29 kids. This year it's going to be 160, and by next year it'll be 215.
Wow.
So kids are staying with us because our academics are amazing, and we have CTE programs.
What's
kind
a
of like,
CTE program?
It's kind of like this little studio here.
Love.
It's career and technical education.
Very good.
So different avenues for kids to learn, AP offerings, and dual credit, which my daughter is benefiting from, where she's going to CSN full-time, taking 15 credits, and within 2 years could potentially graduate with her associate's degree, and if not, be very, very close.
And
Be
that's
one or
paid
two.
for?
All paid for 100% by our school.
So cool.
The tuition is paid for. We give them $250 in books every semester. We even have a bus that takes them from the school to the campus in case they have younger siblings and the parents just want a one-stop shop.
Wow.
So we're really trying to build that program. Our dual credit program is kind of like, those are kind of our special kids, because it's really cool to see kids be able to get a leg up,
Oh,
get college
that's
for
so
free.
important. Yeah.
But is that every school and event, like every charter school?
It
or-
actually came down it was part of a new law, a bill that came through quite a few years ago, that all schools, if you have a high school, you have to offer CTE and dual credit. There's different ways to offer that program. Some of them do on-campus dual credit, where you bring a teacher in to teach a dual credit class, but they might just offer one dual credit class. It doesn't mean that they're offering multiple.
An associate's degree.
An associate's degree,
potentially,
right?
yeah.
So of all 5 classes she's taking right now there, she's getting college credit and she's getting her high school credits satisfied. And then she's also taking a CTE class. So that'll give her some college credit as well. So that kind of threw off the balance when we talk about like the shift of culture and everything. It's like, okay, now we have bigger kids, we have older kids. So how do you get high school families on board? If anybody can figure that out, let me know. Because it's easy for elementary kids, right? They
Yeah.
all want to come in and do the crafts and do all the activities, and it's really, really fun. Secondary kids, it's a little bit more tricky to get those parents involved. So we do what we can to
How
get
are
them
you,
on campus.
I hate to say advertising, but like what are the draws that you're trying to get for the secondary kids?
We're
Do you
really
have
trying
sports?
to.
Is it
We do
sports?
have sports.
Okay.
Yep, we actually we entered into the NIAA 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're competing in the NIAA level, which is really
Nice.
exciting. Last year we launched bowling at the high school level for the first time, which is really exciting. And our soccer field will hopefully be ready in time so we can have soccer in the fall.
Very cool.
So we have lots of activities. We have National Honor Society, our student council program, very similar to what is recognized nationally. A DECA program, which is through our business and marketing and our CTE programs. So we have a lot of clubs that kids can be a part of as well. We like to think that what makes us special is the integration of our character development program through what's called our Ingenium class, where our kids learn life skills.
You're actually doing that. I mean, they're talking about how
Yes.
every college needs to have it now. I haven't heard about it on the high school level.
It's like
Have you?
SEL is the big term, social emotional learning,
Oh,
right?
good, yeah.
That's the big thing. So we
How to be a human, right?
basically
Yeah.
teaching kids how to be human again. And it's nice when it kind of overflows at home and they can see what we're doing so the parents can start to be human again too.
What are some of the
Yeah.
basic tenets of that?
It depends on their grade, right? If they're in
But high
11th
school,
grade,
yeah.
it's a lot about how do you prepare for college? How do you fill out your FAFSA application or your college applications, your resumes for colleges, and how things matter when you're applying to colleges. And then when you're a senior, it's really like entering adulthood
The
with
job
financial
force
literacy
and
and
all
looking
that,
for
yeah.
jobs and putting your resume together and where do you want to work. And when you're younger, it's more like, how do you meet somebody and shake their hand and look at them in the eyes and say their name while you're talking to them, and
How to make a friend.
basic how to make a friend, right? Be kind to everybody. So every grade kind of focuses on something different, but they all get the opportunity to take social dance. So they learn several different dances, whether it's the waltz or the cha-cha or the foxtrot or the Charleston, and then at the end of the year, the parents get to come and see them all perform their dances. And it's a way to put kids in uncomfortable situations.
Oh, I remember those country line
Yeah.
dance
And
situations.
then when they get in an uncomfortable situation, it's not quite so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being forced.
Do you feel like you've achieved the goal? Did you bring New York to Vegas? Did you create something new?
I think that we have done something better than what I ever could have imagined, because
cool.
you're like stone soup. We're like stone soup. All these things got thrown in the pot, and I couldn't have imagined what was going to be thrown in the pot. And the type of people that have come from all parts of Las Vegas to be part of our community has absolutely blown me away. It's I think that if somebody were to ask me, what is one of your biggest strengths? I think it's the ability to find really incredible people that are gifted in very many different ways and to pool them in one place to become a very, very strong, well-run machine.
Such an important gift.
Because
Yeah.
I can only do what I can do.
But how much,
I've been able to hire these amazing leaders and these amazing people and empower them to just do their job the best they can.
But do they want to work with you, for you, if you don't have your passion? I'm feeling like your passion and your energy, like those interviews where you're talking about being in front of every single one of them. I know it's hard, but do you feel like that's also one of your super strengths?
I think that it helps people. I help people feel connected to what they are coming to, right? And I am hoping that over time that starts to bleed to all of the people that I work with, so that their interaction with everybody will be equally as passionate. Now, granted, not everybody had to homeschool their kid. Not everybody had to change the name of their school after they had a school for 6 years, right? It's when people refer to it as my school, it's actually very difficult for me. I don't like that, because it took a lot of people and the work of a lot of people
Right.
to bring all of this together, and the team that it takes to start it.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends, my personal friends, work at the school. A lot of family that work at the school, they reach out to their family, and now they work at the school. So there's lots of family members that work at the school, and that's
But you said team. You said team, right? And when we
We're big
Yeah.
on
when
that.
we partnered, we put team in our, instead of calling it a law firm or a law group, and all of our internet guys are like,
Yeah.
that's not going to really. Some people might not know what an injury team is. That you're lawyers, and I'm like, yeah, but
we're a team.
Well, and you've learned enough that you want to run your business not like a family, like a team.
Yeah.
Right. And because
Well, I'm also a former athlete.
Okay.
I mean, like back in the day in
Soccer?
high school, soccer and basketball.
soccer, because your kids are
I know.
amazing.
You wouldn't know. I was like state champion and
But the
point
team,
guard.
right,
I could
is
see
the-
the
competitive nature. I could see that.
I don't know if that surprises me that much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Team is everything, and it taught me
Yeah.
a lot, which is one reason I wanted to have sports at the school, because it teaches you a lot when you work on a team, whether it's a Stuco team or whether it's a basketball team or, a cross-country team where it's individualized but still pooled. There's so much to be learned from being on a team.
Yeah.
And
And when you're on a dysfunctional team, nothing worse. When
Oh
you're
my
on
goodness.
a functional team, that's like nothing
And
better.
let's be
Yeah.
honest, at some point, every team is dysfunctional,
And
right?
that's
So
when
you just have to roll
that's
with
when
it.
you have to just be like, okay, this is the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Let's
like
solve
that's when the leaders
Let's reset.
have to make the difference, right? Like,
Yeah.
can I see this through? Can I push this in the direction that we need to go?
I remember there being a moment, I don't know what made me think of this, but I remember there being a moment when it was during COVID and we were getting ready to shut down. And I was terrified, right, of like, how are we going to do this? And I'm in charge, I'm kind of in charge, but the management company was still kind of in charge. But they're up in Utah dealing with the same thing in Utah. So everyone's like kind of in panic mode. And it was the day we literally were sending everybody home. It was after school, I remember. And I remember bringing all the staff together into the atrium of the school. And the look on everybody's faces was just like everyone white as a
Fear.
ghost. Everyone
Yeah.
was scared. Nobody knew what was going to happen. And we had rounded up all of the supplies that we could from the campus so that people could take supplies home because we knew we weren't coming back to school. Toilet paper. Remember when you couldn't buy toilet paper?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
So we took all of the supplies that we had and we brought it all into one place, and we had placed a really big order, and we just said, okay, we're going to at least provide for our people. And I remember bringing everybody into the room, and everyone's terrified. And I'm the one that they're looking to for any type of reassurance, which in COVID, who could offer any reassurance? But the reassurance I offered was what I could offer. So when you talk about when things are in the dumps, it was, we're going to take care of you. Like, we don't know what this means, but you have a place to land. We're going to take care of you. If things get hard for you and your family, we are the first line of contact for you. Reach out to us so that they know that they had a place to feel connected. So even when it's dysfunctional, there still is a purpose for a team and for people to know that they have a place that they can
Connection
go to and a
Yeah,
connection.
absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing I really love about Joe and starting this partnership with him has been kind of the way he's really a support system for women. Like, he's, get out of their way, let them do the dang thing. And it's been interesting because he's seen firsthand how different people can treat me as a female lawyer versus him, and down to our own referral sources sometimes. So I want to kind of talk about you in the education system, a woman in charge. Has that impacted you at all? Has it been a strength, a weakness?
What's your take? I mean,
Yeah,
you can
what's
just
your
give us your
take?
whole take.
I think the take is that, meaning in my position specifically, education is a predominantly female field until you get into leadership, right? When you look across the board, it's starting to shift a little bit, but when you look across the board at all the different school leaders, most of them, principals, are primarily men. Most of the superintendents are primarily men.
Same thing with law, right? Like lawyer, 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 male, male, male,
Yeah.
surrounded by a sea of female
Women.
paralegals
Yes,
that run
exactly.
all of it.
Right, all the teachers,
Yeah.
most of the teachers are always female,
Yeah.
but all of the leadership is predominantly male. And so, and I can see that there's a strength to that men lend a strength, that lend a typically non-emotional perspective, which can be really helpful among a sea of females, right? But it is interesting to be in a position where you're working with a lot of other male leadership. And I think sometimes it's the energy that you bring to a situation will determine how they're going to respond to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it always comes down to respect,
Mm-hmm.
both ways, obviously. I have to feel respect from somebody, male or female, because there's been plenty of women who have disrespected me.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, well, you've made your case, we walk away and we don't need to be friends. But I think it's just a matter of respect.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's knowing when you shouldn't talk, learning when it's better to not talk, not as a female, as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it still ultimately comes down to having your support system be really strong.
Yeah.
Individuals, whether they are men or whether they are female.
Have your back.
To have your back. But I think it's also incredible that there are women that stand out as leaders or in their positions of work that can be inspirations to these young students and to young girls who, for me, I grew up in the type of culture that the moms all stayed home and the dads all went to work. And I love it that my kids, you ask any of them and they'll be like, oh yeah, my mom, she's a bad A, you know. She works and she's,
Yeah.
you know, she does a really good job at
Yeah.
what she does. And that is a testament to the work that I do. There's a trade-off, obviously, as a mom, that when you're working.
Yes.
But I also think that it's a really cool thing that you can do for your kids to be able to show them
The example.
what they can be. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. If you want to be a rocket scientist, then you will be a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
Everything is figure outable.
Everything is figure-outable. I absolutely love that.
I think the flip side of that too is, you know, and it's kind of a buzzword at this point, but there's a lot of women who talk about the imposter syndrome, especially I think if you have been raised in a culture where you're supposed to stay at home, right? Have you experienced that? Do you have
Are
the
you kidding
opposite
me?
of
I feel
that?
like that was my middle name.
Imposter syndrome.
Absolutely my
Where
middle
you're like,
name
who
for
the hell
several,
let me do
several
this?
years. Like, how am I doing this? Sometimes I sit back and I see like the buses roll in, or I see the people walking in, and I see the kids walking through the streets, and I'm like, how did I do this? Like, there's no way I'm supposed to be in charge. But then you know what? You go other places, even up to the Capitol, and you sit through a session, and you're like, they aren't any smarter than I am.
We're all kids running around acting
Right.
like
Yeah.
adults,
Right.
making the rules up as we go.
Totally,
Well,
but definitely
it takes
impacted me. Definitely
Yeah.
impacted me for several years. I thought someone's going to find out. Someone's going to find out. You know that. But also, what are they going to find out?
know.
That I did it. Like,
What is
okay,
that?
Well,
I know.
it just takes so much longer than, you know, people want to believe, right? If
Yeah.
you tell people how long it takes, and they're like, hey, I want to be you, or I want to do what you've done. And then you're like, okay,
Let
well,
me take you back
it
10
took me
years.
19 years,
Yeah.
right? And then they're out. And so I
But
think
it also
that's-
took me
Took-
like 15 years of being a mom,
Yeah.
and then which gave me my own set of skills and doing all the things that I had done: airbrush tanning, selling fruit, doing personal training, working at the doctor's
and
office,
back
like,
against the wall, figure
back
it
against
out.
the wall, right? Baking classes, like just trying to do whatever I could do.
Yeah.
Making connections with people, networking.
Talking.
The biggest thing ever is just
Yeah.
networking and learning from the people that you meet. Whatever skill they have, learning from them so that you can take on that attribute. You know, but imposter syndrome, I think for women, it's got to be bigger than for
It
men,
has
because
to,
men are
yeah.
just, they naturally have the I can do anything kind of
Well,
gene.
they're taught, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they're
Yeah, I
taught
think
to
that's
assume
probably
that they belong in any room.
Yes.
We certainly are not.
No.
And so, yeah.
And culturally for me, it was definitely not.
Well, and men are always they're measuring each other up in a quicker, like the whole, okay, who's the alpha in the room, and yeah, it probably is a little bit stronger with men as far as just competing, right?
Well,
Biologically.
it's more
Yeah.
outright.
Yeah.
Men competing is more outright. Women competing is probably more annoying, but the competition with men in a room. It's like, okay, here they go.
Yeah. Well, and if a woman's in the room, you already count us out.
Yeah. Right.
When you shouldn't.
Unless you have
haven't.
unless you have really good shoes.
Hence
If
Blackbird
you have really
before.
good shoes, then maybe they will take notice. Maybe they'll take notice. Yeah.
I love it. So we ask all of our guests, it's Attorneys on Accident. Do you feel like you're CEO of a badass charter school by accident?
Absolutely. Like still cannot believe that I am doing what I am doing. I feel really lucky to work with the people I work with. If you were to give me the same job and pick me up and put me somewhere else, would I say I wouldn't do it? Never say no to a challenge, because I would try to recreate the same exact thing. But what we have here is something so authentic, so natural born, organic, like it just happened with all the people and the families. I don't know that I would ever want to recreate it. But am I here by accident? Yeah, I never saw myself even working full time, being in the business world, which even though I'm in education, the role I play, the people I interact with, the part of the job that I do, it is in the business world. And I never would have really seen me doing that. I always just was going to be a mom. Right?
Well, it sounds like it
So,
aligns with your passions, because you don't seem like the person that's going to do anything that you aren't passionate about and don't love and enjoy.
No, but I also am a solution-minded person. So if there's something that I could find that could be done better, there's not going to be much that gets in my way. I look back now and I see all the roadblocks, the red tape,
But at the time, you were too naive.
way too naive to even know that existed. So if someone were to say, hey, can I charter a charter school? I'd be like, you absolutely can. It's going to be a pain in the butt, but anybody can do this.
Yeah.
It's just, is it worth the end game?
And can anybody get involved in the community? I mean, do they have to have kids in school? I mean, what would you, very simplistically, like, what would you say, like, here's what you can do to help Nevada go from being the bottom to at least the, like, lower bottom, middle bottom?
Yeah, to move we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, to move the cruise ship, the freight liner of education, it has to move incrementally, right, to be able to really get a shift. So for any one person, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, it's going to be really, really difficult. At the same time, every person that lends themselves to the problem is part of the solution, and at least it's going somewhere. It's something. And so I think the biggest thing is for people to know that even if the part that you play seems like it's a speck on a painting, it is still part of the painting. Mm-hmm. And it is still a very necessary part of that painting.
And that comes from somebody that has a canvas, watched every little paint stroke make a picture, right?
And windows and doors open and close too. So what is a speck on the canvas today? They may not want to be there next year, which is fine. So you take them as you get them. I would say for my school, anybody that wants to be able to come in and volunteer or help in a positive way, there are things that you can do even if your kids aren't in school. One thing, you could find a school in your community or something that aligns to you, or whatever your vision is, or whatever the school's vision is, if that aligns to something that speaks to you. Donate to the school, become a community sponsor like your team has. You could sponsor a student athlete. A lot of kids can't afford to play in sports, so just go sponsor a student athlete or sponsor a team and say, I'm willing to pay all their fees. You can get your name of your company on one of their t-shirts. You could provide pizza for staff for a day.
Yeah, we do those lunches, and that's a ton of fun.
It's a huge, and they love it. They talk about it for days. Bagels, donuts. They love food. Staff at schools absolutely love food. That is the way to their heart. And anything free. They love anything free. So you can really contribute even if you don't have time. Then you can go and you can help be a crossing guard at that school every single day. That means something to the school. That's one staff member I don't have to put out on the curb if I have somebody coming to volunteer as a crossing guard. So there's lots of different ways I think that you can help out at any of the schools. I'm not going to speak for CCSD. There are a few regulations when it comes to working in schools as far as being fingerprinted and that, but that's like if you're going to be in there more than 4 times a month or so many hours and you're going to have one-on-one interaction. If you're just going to go help out at the school, there's always somebody at the school that could use your help.
That's a great list.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah.
For our programs, right? You might be into theater. So you could say, I want to be able to help the theater department help them with their program when it comes time for the program. You can help with the costumes and help in that way. So I think there's lots of different avenues and departments at every school that would be like, oh yeah, you want to help, we'll take your help. And that to me is the purpose of schools. It builds a community. It brings all of these people, both businesses, families, and other members of the community into
Right.
a space for the purpose of the students attending that school.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like Vegas needs, more of that, more of the building and the strengthening.
Well, thank you.
So-
That's a perfect place to wrap up. Rachelle Hulet, our CEO of Charter School on Accident, but
Charter school and accident,
I
yes.
love that.
Thankfully, you're here, and Vegas certainly appreciates
Thank you for
and everything
helping
that
build
you're doing.
community. It's
Thank you.
so needed.
And thank you for supporting the communities. You guys have
Absolutely.
been absolutely amazing.
Thanks
so thank
for
you.
coming on.